Well, here we are again. After 27 rounds and the test of a final series, our grand final has been decided. And after being the dominant team all season, the Melbourne Storm won't be satisfied by anything less than premiership glory in their first grand final in 4 years. For all the talk of the Penrith dominance, which, don't get me wrong, has been out of this world impressive, I think at times we should just sit back and appreciate what this Storm team have been able to do consistently for such a long period of time. And now, their legendary coach Craig Bellamy has the opportunity to win his first premiership in the post-Smith-Cronk-Slater era, and truly cement himself as one of the greatest coaches in Australian Rugby League history. Here's how the Storm can win this year's grand final. The key to this side having success is its spine. The Rugby League guru referred to them as the greatest running spine of all time after their win against the Roosters, and while I don't have the historic base to make a claim like that, I certainly can't argue with what he's saying. The moment that their forwards start winning the contact, that's when the Storm's spine clicks into gear. It all starts with Harry Grant getting out of dummy half and just keeping the defensive line guessing. Sometimes he'll take the run himself and get a quick play the ball. Other times he'll dig into the line and try and get a late pass to the likes of Jerome Hughes or Cameron Munster to put them through a gap. And no matter what he chooses to do, you can guarantee that Ryan Papenhuyzen will be flying through from behind to capitalise on any opportunities that the others are able to create for him. Even in the preseason, while there were a number of question marks over certain positions in this team, I think everyone agreed that if this spine is humming, the Storm can beat absolutely anyone. And we've seen this spine do that this season, but what makes it even more impressive is how disrupted they've been across the year. Cameron Munster was out for a massive proportion of this season, Ryan Papenhuyzen has struggled for match fitness, and yet now with them all back they have just clicked into gear. And in the momentum-based game that rugby league has become, it is essentially impossible to stop once they get a roll on. I mean, and I say this respectfully, just ask the Sydney Roosters. The Roosters conceded 8 tries to the Storm last week, 7 of which were to members of this spine. Even the one try scored by someone else, the Jack Harworth try, came from a Ryan Papenhuyzen line break off a 20-metre restart. It was absolutely death by spine, and coming into the biggest game in club rugby league, these aren't players that are likely to be overawed by the occasion. Ryan Papenhuyzen literally won a Clive Churchill medal against these Panthers back in 2020. Cameron Munster is regarded as one of the best big game players in the comp. Jerome Hughes has been the best player in the NRL this season, and Harry Grant will be able to draw on a heap of Origin experience to deliver on the big stage. The 1, 6, 7 and 9 are the beating heart of any team, and Melbourne will be relying on their star boys to get the job done on Sunday night. The first test for the Storm though is going to come long before that game even kicks off. Enforcer Nelson Asafa-Solomona has been hit with a 4-game ban after high contact in the opening play of their preliminary final against the Roosters. And while I'm recording this before any of it is played out at the judiciary, I would expect that Melbourne are going to challenge that decision. Now, do I think that that tackle is worth a 4-game ban? No. I think that if Lindsay Collins hadn't been knocked out, then Asafa-Solomona probably wouldn't even have got sin-binned. In my opinion, if Collins was okay and the referee had just ruled a penalty, I don't think we'd be talking about it. But the official judiciary report says that it's his 3rd and subsequent offence, which contributes to the lengthy ban and only adds to his problems. Now, I realise that this is going to be a controversial opinion, but I actually don't think he should be suspended at all. Hear me out. We have suspensions in place for 2 reasons. 1, they deter players from committing acts of foul play, and 2, once the player has committed the act of foul play, they teach that player a lesson. They literally make the player sit out for the duration of the suspension and think about what he's done. So I'll ask you, is a grand final the appropriate time to teach a player that lesson? Is it the appropriate time to make him sit down and think about what he's done? Don't get me wrong, he should be punished for it, but to me this isn't the right stage on which to do that. We want to see our best players playing in the grand final. If Nelson doesn't play and Melbourne lose the grand final, there's going to be a bit of an asterisk in the fallout from the game that Nelson might have made the difference if he'd played, especially given his intimidation factor compared to the rest of his forward pack. To me, I'm happy with a fine, or perhaps a suspension that will be served at the start of next season. But to me, finals games and rep games don't come around often enough to be appropriate platforms to suspend a player on. Finals games and rep games are too rare and special for a player to miss out on them due to suspension. And I realize that's a scorching hot take and it's going to be a controversial opinion, but would you not be more excited for this grand final if you knew Nelson was going to play? It is so in the NRL's interest for Nelson to play in this grand final. Does that make a bit of a mockery of the whole system? Yeah, probably a bit, but hell, it's the outcome that the neutrals want. It's the outcome that's going to generate the most controversy, the most hype, and get the most people watching on Sunday night. Regardless though, the best 17 for the Melbourne Storm looks like this. There'll be massive pressure on Nick Meaney and Jack Howarth in the centres, both relatively inexperienced players in that position, but they well and truly stood up to the challenge of Joey Manu and Joseph Suaalii last week, and I'd argue that Isaac Tonga and Paul Alamotti are probably not as demanding a challenge as those two. The concern, if you want to call it that, is with the forward pack, particularly if Nelson doesn't play. Eli Katoa is currently the best back rower in the premiership, but aside from that, there's not a heap of intimidation factor in this forward pack. Don't get me wrong, they well and truly stood up last week against a Roosters pack who are better than them on paper, so I'm not ruling them out whatsoever, but the Panthers are a different prospect. I'd argue that Leota, Fisher-Harris and Yeo will be the three best middle forwards on the field regardless of whether Asafa Solomona plays. So that's the element of the game where Melbourne are going to have to show up in particular. Because as I said earlier, it's only off the back of a little bit of momentum that their spine is able to get going. Around the middle period of the game though, when Fisher-Harris and Leota are off the field, that's when the likes of Tyron Wishart will be able to come on and really cause some headaches. He's been one of the best players all season for Melbourne, and I can definitely see him coming on being one of the focal points of this grand final. One of the points that really determines the outcome of this game. Craig Bellamy's game plan will be, as it was against the Roosters, to keep the ball in play for as long as possible and make sure that these bigger opposition forwards aren't able to catch a breather. But against a game manager like Nathan Cleary, that is easier said than done. Both times these teams have played this year, the Storm have been able to win. Obviously those games no longer matter once we kick off on Sunday night, but it is interesting that this, at times, flawless-looking Penrith system has struggled to beat Melbourne recently. At the start of this final series, I predicted these two teams to be in the grand final, and I predicted the Storm to win. Now, by the time most of you watch this video, you'll know for sure whether or not Nelson is playing. If he does, I'm pretty happy to stick with my prediction of the Storm. But if he doesn't, I think this Melbourne forward pack is going to be really hard-pressed to keep up with what the Panthers can do. When that's the case, and your forwards are dominated, it can often come down to off-the-cuff play, eyes-up footy as they call it. A team's ability to break through the line and score from any point on the field. And in fairness, if there's any team in the NRL that I back to do that effectively, it's the Melbourne Storm. So, who do you think takes out this year's grand final? Leave your predictions for winner and man of the match in the comments section below, and I'll tell you whether or not you know anything about rugby league. I've got a video on the Panthers and their grand final chances coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.